Okay, there is a truck backing up, that's fine. Hi everybody, and then welcome to the presentation. Today I'm going to talk about value opportunities for IoT and location interoperability. I'm the founder and CTO of SensorUp, and then I SensorUp is my company. And then I'm also a professor in addition to entrepreneur. So I'm also the Rogers IoT Research Chair in the Department of Geomatics Engineering. So location, engineering about location is really my where I'm from, expertise. So part of my research and my commercialization work is I standardize several efforts for Internet of Things. So basically, I author several international standards for Open Geospatial Consortium in United Nations IoT, and I work with below I show some logos of the organizations, our customers or who we work with. Okay, so what I try to say is just to let you know, yeah, I have some credibility in doing this. I've been doing standardization for a long time. So especially I focus my standardization effort on OGC, within OGC. I've been involved in OGC since 2002, it's almost 20 years. And OGC is founded in 1994. And I don't know if you remember, actually, about 30 years ago, it's the early stage of geographical information systems. So different cities are using different GIS. And as a result, actually, the nearby cities, they couldn't even exchange their map. They couldn't see each other's map. That's crazy, right? Because in order to make any decision, integrated decision or informed decision, you need to be able to exchange those data to see each other, right? Although when needed. So actually, OGC was founded for location interoperability, the GIS, geographical data. And right now there are, I think it's more than 600 members. And it has very, very healthy. So 1/3 government agency, 1/3 industry, 1/3 academia. So actually a good thing about OGC standard is it has a very good academic grounding. So we start from the conceptual models first. So that's the academic grounding. So some scientific grounding, and then all the way to the, and move it to physical standard encodings, for example. So today, most location and geospatial data and API standards are OGC standard. If you use a phone, you are using some OGC standard. If you look at map online, you are using some OGC standards. It's just embedded in our daily lives. And many OGC standards are also ISO standards as well. It has a long history in standardizing sensor web or IoT, Internet of Things, since 2003. Actually, I'll briefly explain why IoT and OGC, they come together, okay? Okay, oops, here. So what I want to convince you from this slide is sensors are really everywhere. This is a company I met a couple months ago, and then it's called Barely Conductive. So what they do is they have a paint, and the paint, when you paint on the wall, it becomes a sensor. So as a result, actually, you can see even the walls are become sensors. So sensors are really everywhere. And today, COVID situation, right? So there are a lot of companies doing contact tracing wearables and apps. So last night, I briefly Google, okay, the contact tracing wearables, and bam, this one shows up. All they do are similar. They do is they try to have a sensor, and then close range proximity-based sensor. So to track your distance and duration to a certain person. And then the goal is really to automate the digital, to automate the contact tracing, to make it digital contact tracing. But look at this. So there are just so many of them. So, and they are wearables. So sensors are really everywhere. However, today's IoT silos severely limit the value of IoT. So if you look at any complex physical operations, like mining, right? Like oil and gas, like first responders and military. And they want to have visibility about their operations, but they cannot have because, why? Because they have so many silos. There are so many different silos, so you just cannot understand what's going on because they are all locked, data are locked in their systems. So if you look back to the previous slide, right? Let me try to go back to the previous slide. like this. Let's say your organization, you have you have contractor using one system, your people using one system, and then you have a sub organization using the other system. And how can you get the visibility about contact tracing? How can you put all data together? They are all in different silos. Unless you choose one and one ring rule them all, and they decide that's my sensor or system, right? But it's never the case. So today's silos severely limit the value of IoT. And everybody wants to run AI, ML, machine learning, right, on your data, but you cannot do it very well. Why? Because data are better when they are together. So if your data are locked in as individual silos, you just cannot run an AI about most of your data or the aggregate of your data. No, you cannot. You can only run your AI on certain silo. So as a result, your optimization plateau very, very quickly. You just cannot do a system level optimization, or even more importantly, automation, because they cannot talk to each other. So imagine it's like your body, right? And your hands don't talk to your eyes. Your eyes don't talk to your ears, and ears cannot coordinate with your feet. And how can you run a safe and productive operation? You cannot. But today, organizations are like that. So silos, so what? Hopefully I convinced you in the previous slide, but today it's very, very common in operation, right? Certain person, they have certain access of certain system. They don't know how about other systems, so they call each other and then try to figure out, okay, what's going on, right? So if you have been to an emergency operating center, they have a huge theater, right? And then there are people sit down there. Why? Because they're just calling each other and then all talk to each other. Okay, what's going on, what's going on? And they have so many different screens. Each screen is a system. So this is like herd the cat. And for example, if you're in a COVID situation, right, or safety emergency, there's something happen, you call somebody else and you call a cleaning or rescue crew and you go there and then you call back and see, okay, what's going on? So today, for example, a lot of operations are heavily relying on radio. So radio, you don't have data cannot be recorded and there's no digital trail and then no interoperability and it's very slow. Okay, so as a result, for example, firefighters today, they don't know where the firefighters are and what conditions they are in. So for example, in Calgary, I live in Calgary, Canada, a very cold place. It's beautiful in summer. And then the previous firefighter death in action, he passed away 3 feet from the exit door. So it leaves a very, very, it's a burden for everybody because it totally can be prevented. It's preventable. The person died 3 feet away from the door. So if somebody knew where the firefighters was, and then it totally can just drag him out, right? So to know the location and to know the condition, like heartbeat, is very important. Today, a lot of operations require transportation. And how many trucks are empty running on the street? How many times they are late? So that's, again, without interoperability, without knowing the demand and the supply, right? Today, when you manage trains to shipments, and actually it's interesting to me, I learned that recently, 2 years ago. And then actually today, when you buy something from Amazon, you know that small package, that $10 package, where it is. For train cars, the shippers do not know where the train cars are, like huge train cars. It's very, very surprising to me, actually. And then when they arrive the train yards, actually, in many cases, they don't even know the trains arrived because they don't know their location. They don't know their conditions. Okay. Hopefully, you know what's the problem. Here's a homework. I'm also a professor. So these are 2 books you should read. Tonight, your bedtime reading, yeah? So one is called Prediction Machines, and the other one is called Harvard Business Review, How Smart Connected Products Are Transforming Competition. So Prediction Machines is about AI. It has something called AI Canvas, so very, very useful. It's written by economists. So a very interesting view. It's not very technical in terms of algorithm. Okay, and the other one is describe about IoT, so this one. So I'll give you a summary in the next slides. So what is AI? AI is artificial intelligence, right? So by definition, actually, AI means prediction. So AI offers prediction, and today it's getting affordable. So what's a prediction? For example, if you look at the picture, you look at, oh, it's a dog or it's a cat. It's a prediction. 90% of chance it's a cat. So I said it's a cat, right? Same thing with AI. Use deep learning algorithm, and then you look at it. It's a 95% it's a cat. Or you look at a CT scan, right? And you look at, okay, there's 95% or 50%. This tumor is, not good. Okay, that's a prediction. So in the future, if you look at AI, I would like you to think about replace AI with affordable predictions. Because AI, this field has been, around for a long time. Well, when I was doing my PhD, actually AI was like, machine learning was, what can I say? It's the darkest hour of AI, right? When you take an AI course, it's like, what are you doing, right? It's an easy course. Or it's like no future, right? Today is very different. Okay, so replace AI with affordable predictions, right? But today's difference is like data is much more widely available, and then also the computing power, right? The GPU is getting better and better and cheaper. Okay, so what does it mean by prediction? Prediction means taking information you do have to generate information you don't have, like a picture into some meaning. Like take a look at a picture, that's what you have, and you predict, okay, that's a cat, it's a dog, that's a tumor. Okay. So less obvious prediction, for example, classification, right? The tumors in image is good or bad. That's one example. So that's AI. So this is the AI canvas. So I encourage you to think about to decompose your workflow of your operation into different tasks and see which task involve prediction, and how can you use AI to replace it, right? For example, if a doctor, they look at a lot of X-rays, right? That's a prediction, X-ray or images, medical images. And then AI can empower the doctor by automate that prediction so that the doctor can make a judgment. Okay, so this 65%, that one is a tumor, is a bad tumor. What should I do about it? Okay, that's a human in the loop. And what is judgment? Judgment is the risk of not doing it. Okay, the risk of not doing it. So for example, you have a firefighter, and then you are watching a screen, and then the AI bring this to your attention that your firefighter has been exposed to extreme heat for 10 minutes, and his heart rate is going to 165. Okay, and you need to make a judgment. Should I call him back or not? Right? Without IoT, you don't know the condition, don't know the location. And without AI, you need to monitor by yourself, do the prediction by yourself. But with IoT plus AI, you can start to make judgment and eventually automation. So the input here, many cases actually are IoT data. So for real time, it's IoT data, right? Of course, you can get some forms or images or scanned documents, right? That's one part of the inputs. But in the future, most of the inputs will be from IoT because everything becomes digital. And you have the AI. So don't think from the algorithm, think from the affordable prediction. And what task can I automate? And then what kind of judgment? Okay, my experienced operator or experienced workforces can make to make my operation better. So they don't need to do the boring, mundane monitoring task. Okay, let the AI do it. And then you make an action. So try to decide what to do something to the tumor or not to do it. And you have outcome. And the outcome will come back to learning, and AI becomes better. So I think, in my opinion, I found this framework very, very nice. It's take away from the technical jargons, but really focusing on your business outcomes. And then, here is the center of AI is affordable prediction. Okay, so AI plus IoT means you have much more sensors. So the input becomes sensing, and then the prediction. So in many cases, for example, sensor give you the monitoring, right? So you monitor the sensor data, but with AI, basically it's only bring the events, it detect important events and bring to you, so you make a human judgment. And then in many cases, the sensors, you can task a sensor or actuators, control system. And the control system give you the outcome. And outcome back to learning and prediction. So it's a little bit tweak about the AI canvas plus IoT flavor. Hopefully this is useful. So in order to achieve the vision, And then if you have different silos of the sensor systems, and how can you do a good job? You cannot, right? So standards are very important. And OGC has been active in standardizing this for a long time. And then in OGC, there are several standards are important. So one is about IoT. It's called Sensor Things API, and I'm the working group chair for this. So it's really focusing on the real-time data, location data, as well as the contextual data. I'll explain. Context actually is the key. And then other OGC standard, location standard, bring context. So if you think about location, it's not just a let alone, right? It's a dot on a coordinate system. No, it's not. It's more than that, okay? So for example, I'll give you an example. CityGML describe a 3D model and give you semantics so that you know the geometry of a 3D model and where it's your reference on the planet Earth and the meaning of that geometry. For example, how do you know that's a door? How do you describe that's a door? How do you describe that's a window? And how do you describe the specification of that window, the location, specification, or how do you even describe a volume? Like in mining, volume is very important, right? The air budget, for example. And then, so how describe a volume? And CityGML provides standard to describe all that. However, location is more than just geometry, okay? Like the shape and location. It's also about connectivity. So how about an indoor environment? When you are in a mall, how do you know location? Is the geometry important or the connectivity? So leading you from Banana Republic all the way to McDonald's, okay? Geometry is not very useful. It's the connectivity allow you to do the routing. That's important. And they are both location data. And then both provide the context, so enrich the IoT so that you can run your AI to do a better job. So these are basically, today is not to go into to introduce all these standards, right? You'll all go sleep, right? But just let you know, actually, they are very, very, it's not only about IoT, it's not only about the data stream. It's not only about 0, 1, 10, 0, 0, it's just up and down, right? The time series. No, it's about the contextual information plus the observation. Okay, so the data comes together become a system of systems. So how to put together, but they still remain to be independent systems, and then come in as a sensing. And then I would say, actually, in the near future or even today, the consumer of this aggregate data or single source of truth is not human. It should be AI or ML. Okay, it should be the AI. So offer you predictions so that your operators or the decision makers is able to make a decision, to make a judgment, and to task. And again, back from a standard, so you can control different systems, and you have the outcome. So standard provides you a unified framework so that you can run your AI much better and empower your operators. Again, give you some example about spatial is special. Right? Why context is important. For example, in many cases in IoT, people are interested in this, just the result. What's the result? This is wind speed, for example. Okay, 23 meter per second, that's the wind speed. But all this information is blue circle are critical in order to use that information so that you can aggregate this with others. Phenomenon time, procedure, so which procedure you are using to derive the wind speed. And in this case, it could be the sensor data. And for example, feature of interest, okay? So when you measure something, okay, what's your target? For example, when you have a drone flying around, and are you really interested in the location of the drone? Oh, I have a drone here. Okay. When you fly a drone around, and then my son loved this, yeah? So, so are you interested in the location of the drone or where the drone is looking at? I would say both. Okay, in order to know where the drone is looking at, like for example, you're tracking somebody or counting how many people, you need to know where the drones are. But actually, your feature of interest is where the drone is looking at. Okay, it's the difference between in-situ sensing and remote sensing, for example. Okay, so again, context is very important, right? Observed property, right? So if you know, for example, if you go into a room, okay, you get an observation, it's like, oh, the water temperature is 23 degrees. Okay, is that the water temperature of a fish tank or the water temperature of your mug or your water temperature of something. So observed property, feature of interest, all these things becomes important. And there's multiple times in that as well. The phenomenon time, the sampling time, okay, and then the result time. For example, if you do a water sampling, and then the result time and phenomenon times are different. Result time means you send the water into the lab, and then what time did you get the result? Okay, that's a result time. And typically it's it's different from phenomenon time, which is the time when you collect that data, collect the sample, yeah? Okay, just give you an example that's important. The other example is about how about indoor. I think for mining, especially underground mining, indoor, this kind of models becomes very important. So you have physical space, okay? However, in many cases, you have different connectivity. So let's take an example, say you are in a mall, and if you're on a wheelchair today, and then the route you can take is very different from a person who can walk. The connectivity becomes different. So for example, when you have machines in an indoor environment, and then the route the machine can take is different from the route that a human can take, okay? And it can go more expensive. For example, if you consider the air budget, the electricity budget, okay? And then you have different connectivity for different demands. So in indoor GML describe not only the topographic space, which is the physical, like geometry, but also how it connects to each other. So this dual space, this is the connectivity, so topological space, topology. So again, all these are very important. Okay, so I want to challenge you a little bit. Okay, so because somebody, you might think about AI, right? So AI, today AI is not so accurate. I'll wait when it's more accurate, right? So I'll challenge you actually. The idea is AI doesn't have to be very accurate, and it will change, it will make a big change. Okay, so let's say your AI, you have a dial, you can crank it up, so become more accurate. Okay, let's assume that. So I want to see you raise hands, but I cannot see you, but just raise your hand. So how many of you are buying stuff from Amazon? Many, yeah? So how many of your wife or spouse are buying from Amazon? It's crazy, yeah? You feel like it's like every time when my doorbell rings, it's like, whoa, what did my wife buy, right? Okay, so Amazon give you recommendation. So you look at your buying history, right? The inputs data, okay? And then recommendation engine, recommend you what to buy. So how accurate it is right now? Maybe 2, maybe 3, yeah? So let's say every 10 things you recommend me, I was like 2 or 3, I'm interested, okay? Some things we just order from Amazon, subscribe, right? Like diapers for my baby, yeah? So just automatically come, right? Okay, so let's have a dial. Let's say we can dial it, crank it up from 2 items into 6 items. That means every 10 items recommend you, 6 are really attractive. You're gonna buy. So what's gonna happen? So what if the AI becomes so accurate? And let's use the Amazon example because almost everybody knows Amazon, right? So today when you buy Amazon, is you shop, you ship, and you receive. Let's say you go online, you shop, right? And then you order, and then it shipped to you, you receive it, and you can return if you don't like it. But if it becomes very accurate, or it doesn't have to be very accurate actually, just like enough accurate, you can change how they operate into ship, receive, and shop. That means you don't need to shop anymore online. It just shipped to you. Every day you open the door, it's like Christmas, and you say, okay, what are the things I want to keep? Because the AI becomes more important. It becomes accurate. So assume, okay, we'll say 6 things out of 10 you're gonna keep, okay? And then you just keep it, and then return the 4. So in the future, in your house, outside, in addition to your green bin, the black bin, and blue bin for recycles, you have another Amazon bin for return your things you don't want, okay? And because when it becomes accurate, you can change this. And what's the implication of changing the way you shop? By ship to you, you shop at your doorstep, it blocks all the competition away. You don't need to go to Walmart anymore. You don't go to Costco because Amazon just ship it to you. Okay? So this is the power of AI. It's a dynamic shift. So I really encourage you to think about it in your operation in mining context, for example. What are the AIs? Go back to the canvas, right? The prediction that it makes. And it might change the way you operate the whole thing. And that's what you need to think about because somebody is thinking about that, right? Amazon is a good example. So of course, Amazon patented this, right? Anticipatory shipping to send it before you shop, okay? So this is the power of IoT and AI. So why you need IoT? Because you need the data to power your AI. Why you need to be together? Because if they are not together, and then you cannot really run your AI. And your competitor will be doing better job because they can put things together. And why are you doing this all together? It's because the dynamic shift. Dynamic shift. Okay. So for example, what if the trucks arrive before a service request? So think about Uber, for example. What if the Uber arrive, not today because everybody's locked down, right, at home. But what if the Uber arrives before you even need to call Uber? It's like, oh, I know you are most likely going to airport today. Okay, and here's Uber show up. Okay. Or today, maybe they direct them according to the different traffic demand patterns, right? But however, if the AI becomes more accurate, right? There's a more than 50 or 60 or 70% of chances if an Uber shows up at your door and you're gonna take it. Or a truck arrives before service request, you're gonna take it. And then you can block your competition away. What if a digital assistant, so today, in a lot of operations, they use a lot of radios. So what if the radio can be replaced by an AI? And that's a digital assistant, digital angel. It warns firefighters before flashover, right? Integrate the camera, the sound, and before kaboom gonna happen, it said, run. And it's not scientific fiction. We have been doing some work with the NASA JPL, Jet Propulsion Lab. And then we are doing the aggregation of IoT, different sensor IoT, and they run a digital assistant called Audrey. And Audrey can talk to the firefighters and then to tell them what to do. For example, in some rescue scenarios, right? And for example, we found actually AI is doing better in a helicopter rescue mission and in a very rocky environment, and AI is doing better than human eyes because the complexity of the textures. Anyways, so actually the other thing to think about is really, AI is affordable prediction, right? So how can your AI do better? So what are things the AI doing better than humans? Okay, again, another framework. So you put IoT, give you visibility, and then you have asset performance, basic history, so allow you to train your data, and then you can optimize. And eventually what you want to do is automation. Right? Automatically ship it to you, automatically dispatch services, automatically dispatch a truck to pick up some liquid. Okay, so that's the end goal for there. So again, the canvas, right, is a loop. So the better you do, it becomes the smoother you do, and the human judgment, less and less human judgment, and then the things become automated. So the real value of IoT is really about network effect. How to put things together, the different systems all together so that you have, first step, your visibility, next step, your asset performance, which is history. You can train your AI and optimize and automation. Cool. So IoT systems are better when they are together. And you have two ways to do this, how to put them together. One is you hire a very, very big company, or you have your very, very big IT department and do it by yourself. Right? You just stitch everything together. Number two is use a standardized way. So today, for example, do you, like the web, right? We are using the web every day, the World Wide Web. So what's the web? The web basically is a standard or suite of standards that interconnect different systems that serve documents, web pages, documents. Okay? So you can use standardized way to do it or use a proprietary way to do it. Okay? And I encourage you actually to try to leverage the standards, developed by organizations. It's a lot of efforts there, and somebody's sponsored for the development of that standard, and then really piggyback on that. So give you some examples. Sorry, I don't have a mining example, although we are working with a mining company very, very soon, and hopefully we can show you something for underground mine, hopefully. Yeah, the scale is huge. I mean, I'm very impressed by the scale of the underground mine. It's crazy, very, very challenging. And for me, so it's interesting. Okay, so this is something we did for the Department of Homeland Security. Hopefully, you can see some connections over there. The idea is really they want to know visibility, want to save lives, right? And they want to also improve their performance, which is response time in that case, and try to automate it so that the humans they don't have so many people just call around or talk to each other. They can really make judgment that matters. Okay, so we had this scenario. Was in a football stadium, and then it simulated an earthquake event. Right, so we have the sensors, drones, mobile command center, the internet. So actually the internet is not, well, one of the requirements for the Department of Homeland Security is this IoT system needs to work without internet. So in a lot of challenging environment, this is very important, yeah? So they have a local internet, a local network, and then drones and yeah, all that. So this is an example about that day. So instead of today, without this, they are watching a whiteboard where the people are and just using the magnetic, right? And here you aggregate more than 20 different systems. And for example, a firefighter, like the yellow dots, and then the firefighter, they have multiple wearables on them. And with their location, indoor location, outdoor location, heartbeat, heart rate, even gas detection, okay? And then they have 5 different systems, each person. And we aggregate them together. So actually, when you look at them, they are not different screens. They are one screen and different attributes of that person in real time and where they are moving. If you look at the arrow, the direction is where they are heading to. Okay, we can even replay to see where they were, their heart rate is. And then in this case, it's a real-time data, the fire drill, okay, and then you can really see where they are. Okay, and on the right-hand side, you can see, okay, the anomalies. And in the future, and more, this will only show you the relevant data. For example, in this case, we can show alerts here. And the alerts will show you, okay, you can set up the rules. And if this person has been exposed to a certain gas, for how long, and then the oxygen tank is below a certain level, show alerts and where they are. So it's really about, and then you can start to make some judgment, right? So that's really when you are able to put things together, and then the power of the IoT interoperability. And the other example is we are doing some work with a leading oil company in Canada. So the idea is they want to haul the liquid before the tank is full. They want the truck to be there and then to haul the liquid out. Yeah. So they basically integrate the SCADA system, the control system, industrial control systems, and then the fleet management system, and the lone worker solutions, which is where the location the people are. And from here, we can see where conditions of the wells and where the trucks are, and we can recommend a list of the trucks. It's like, okay, so you have the wells, the batteries, the tanks going to be full in the next 24 hours, and these are the trucks we will recommend you should dispatch. And the human can start to make judgment. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Rather than today, they are looking at 2,000 wells. Yeah, we are looking at each well. Okay, when they are going to be full, so no AI, and we have a prediction, right? So when they are going to be full, and then try to see, okay, which one I should dispatch a service request, and they use Excel to do that. So it's very repetitive and it's very boring. And so when they use a system, they're like, this is really a digital assistant, right? So in my opinion, actually, IoT plus AI is really about eventually automation. But before that, it's really to empower. So it's optimization, empower the operator so they are much more efficient. The other example I briefly talk about is the shipment, right? So in many cases, actually, the shippers, they don't even know where the train cars are. By aggregating different sensor systems, who are able to see where the congestions are, what's the cycle time. And it's actually, I think this will be similar to mining. The scale is different, but it's a 1D network. well, 1D network. It means that it's a network of connectivity, right? Network of connect to each other. Okay, so and then you can know the cycle time of the different segments, and then you can predict cycle time. So when will be slowed down or delay or bottlenecks are, and then you can try to do something. The goal here is really the shippers, they try to squeeze one more trip for their ride, for their the train cars, right? And then because if they can ship a whole bunch of stuffs and one more time a year, that's a lot of money, right? 300 cars a train, right? So that's the other example. And by the way, in this case, actually, what's interesting is the location. So location, the train cars actually is a combination. We run some AI algorithm to fuse the observation. So we have the scanner, AEI readers, a big RFID scanner, basically checking for the cars. And then some of the cars has GPS. And by fuse them together, and we can get the data for most of the trains. So that means not every train cars need a GPS receiver. By combining these different sensors together, you can get better data. Again, interoperability of different sensors. Okay, hopefully today's talk is useful for you. They're not very much about technical details, but those something you can download to read the specification. But I really want to lead you think about why are we doing this and what's the value and opportunities, right? IoT, data is new oil. So IoT data represent the next generation, or even today, like an ocean of data, and you should really take advantage, and it gives you visibility. And AI and IoT has to be together, and AI means affordable predictions. I want to think about next time when you hear about AI, is like it's affordable prediction, and AI and IoT have to be together. OGC standard offers the critical context for IoT and AI, because without the context, you cannot run your AI very well. And finally, I want to challenge you, encourage you to think about what dynamic shifts will happen that will be enabled by AI and IoT, like Amazon example. It changed shop, ship, receive into ship, receive, and shop. It might change your organization, very different way how you operate your organization. So think about AI affordable prediction, and what AI can you crank it up, okay? And what tasks in your workflow you can use affordable predictions. And I really encourage you to think about that. So thank you very much. And then my email is steve.liang@sensorup.com. So steve.liang, that's easy. And then at sensorup.com. So feel free to contact me. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Hey, hello?
Yes.
Sorry, I came into the meeting late, so I'm sorry if this is mentioned in the introduction. I just really only caught the last few minutes. But is Amazon recommending any particular open spatial standard itself? Like, is there a standard API or project that you're following that if we follow will be in line with Amazon products?
Good question. Not yet. Not yet. Amazon is not a spatial company, right? It's not a geospatial company, so not yet. I know Microsoft is, because they have for example, Amazon doesn't have a mapping department, right? And Microsoft has a Azure Maps, like Google Maps, right? Mm-hmm. So, but I'm pretty sure these big companies, like if you look at Amazon Web Services, like it's my guess, okay? They typically to be the plumbing, the underlying infrastructure, provide you computing resources, rather than go deep into the vertical applications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so your recommendation is just follow it. Pick a standard, an open standard, follow it, use cloud services in the Amazon network.
Yes. And if you want to do IoT and geospatial, OGC is the way to go.
Okay, thank you.
That's simple, right? Open Geospatial Consortium, right? Yeah. But if you are thinking about IoT of different layers of protocols, so you still have other things you need to consider, right? So like a transport layer, right? How's a wireless communication layer or wire communication layer? And then again, follow the standard practice, right? That's my recommendation. Rather than using big military contractor tell you a super secure and expensive network.
Thank you.
Anything?
Hello, Steve. Could you please make a little development on the privacy of the data, the negativity of the companies to share personal data from people, like the example you did with the firefighters? Could you talk a little bit of your experience dealing with that?
Okay, sure. I think there are two sides. It's a great question, right? There are two sides of things. So privacy and protection. So actually, we did the exercise. For example, we did the exercise with the Vancouver Fire Department. It's a drill, a one-day drill. And then we invited the union to come. And we're worried about, okay, union must hate the idea in monitor firefighters, right? But actually, the unions love it. Is that in that case, yeah, particular case, I'm not saying, you know, in every case, but in that particular case, they love it because said, we need this because, you know what, we need this so we can buy a better insurance, so we can protect our people, right? Because today, well, you know, it's very difficult for them to get good insurance because they cannot quantify their risk in this case. So it's really about it's two sides of the edge, right? It's two sides. There's always two sides. And we're like, oh, wow, we never thought about it, right? And again, I shared that example. The person passed away because 3 feet from the door, right? So they really want this. It's really about in my opinion, it has to be a very nice dance or coordination of policy, how to enforce or ensure they protect that it won't be used by the wrong purposes, but for this purpose, right? So for example, in oil and gas, the lone worker solution, again, before the lone worker solution, right? People are like, are you tracking me? But in order for people to work alone, okay, you need enough protection. Sorry, this is really to protect you. We need to know where you are, right? So I don't have a perfect answer, but it has to be a very careful dance of policy, of you know, some legal framework and the data. And again, from a technical perspective, I think it's important to have an architecture which is protect both privacy and security. Yep. Okay, so for example, like Department of Homeland Security, right? It's a system of systems. And then the system need to be, for example, because they worry about what if this data of where people are, firefighters, right, get into the bad people's hands. So it has to have enough technical, the technical framework need to be consider that so that it can be, for example, for your eyes only, need to know basis, rather than a big cloud, you access everybody and using a shared infrastructure. And you know, there are different practices, right? So again, leverage standards, it kind of consider all that, right? A good standard should consider. So for example, in our example, right, if it meet those requirements. So for example, we won, my company won a, commercial. We won an award from NATO called Secure Federation of IoT Devices. Right. So again, this can be very important.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions or discussion?
Question for Steve there. I'm in mining, and I was looking at the way they were using it for tracking rail cars, trains and that, and I was just thinking, you know, we've got Project Underground where there's trucks coming from different, actually nickel and copper ore bodies. And this whole thought process of automating trucks and having them directed to different bins, separating out the ore, fits in rather neatly. So it's more a comment than a question.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the feedback, actually. Yeah. I assume actually, okay, here's my thesis, yeah? So people, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So the idea I have is really, if you look at complex physical operations, right, like mining or oil and gas, a lot of the inefficiencies happened at the wait time or non-productive time. Is about how to direct things that moves around and transport from one place to the other in the most efficient way. So I think, thank you. I think your comments really, you know.
Yeah, Because the routes in a mine are sort of almost pipelines. You've got a tunnel, so you can only use that tunnel. You can't be driving all over the mine. And but just what you were speaking about, I could visualize this new mine and the way things could slot together, because mines sometimes tend to be not a smooth flowing operation. They're interrupted all the time, and with control over your trucks and understanding what materials in them, even if it's waste, you suddenly change the whole dynamics underground and automate the whole system.
Great.
More than autonomous. Maybe you could have someone on surface with video cameras. The best step is to make the trucks start thinking for themselves.
Yeah, they say autonomous agents, right? They can make decisions. So actually, sorry, just to push a little bit, not push, I mean to brainstorm, right? So something we're thinking about is really in the future, everything become an agent, so we can make some decisions, right? And bring attention. So if they need to be attended, and then people need to make pay attention, it makes warning, right? So learning by yourself. For example, like today in a COVID situation, right, to protect the workforces. And what if, and today's schedule is really about clean repeatedly, right? So it's a schedule based, it's not exception based, right? So for example, what if the space, a room, or even, a room, a space, and they know how often they are cleaned and how often people are passing by. And then you can have a idea, it's like, okay, I need to be clean, right? I'm a busy space, and then I need to be cleaned. And, this is just one example, right? And today you see, like in oil and gas, for example, that you see some of the wells, it's like, okay, so they have some predictive maintenance, right? So they send a warning, okay, I need to be maintained, right? But in the future, like exactly what Pat said, right? It's about autonomous. So each unit, a fin, becomes autonomous, and then can shout out loud. It's like, I need attention, or what should be done to me? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Herman Lombard. I'm from Deloitte, Canada, based in Toronto. We do a lot of work with clients on integrated operations. So kind of what you were talking about initially, about bringing together, different kind of sensors, data, and technology into sensible visualization to aid decision making. So I was curious, you spoke about like the use of radio, and certainly I think across not only mining, but in other sectors, radio is still, a technology that's often used. So I just wanted to understand if I would imagine that the current providers of radio technology is also thinking about how to get more value out of radio communications. And I could imagine that, you can design a bot that could do some natural language processing and digitize the content even over radio. I was just wondering, in your firefight example, is radio still used, or do you think radio's days are over and we're moving to iPhones for everyone, or what's your opinion on that?
Can you repeat again what the ideas?
And I was just asking, do you think that the radio as a technology is coming to its end, so everybody will move to smart devices, or do you think there's still a lot to be and the radio technology can still be effectively utilized with maybe some of the advances that you're seeing?
Sure. It's going to happen. So if you look at firefighters, right, it's a very demanding area and application. And then they don't like things that, doesn't work, because it's about life-threatening situation, right? And then actually we have a lot of talks with them. So it's a very good use case. If it's going to happen to firefighters, it's going to happen to other places, yeah? And then they need this, number one, given the unprecedented visibility. And it's a new capability, so it's like a leap, right? It's not just better, it's a leap. And then it protects them. And then also the cost is going down. Again, it's still quite expensive, but cost is going down, right? So and Department of Homeland Security is pushing very hard, right? They published something called the Next Generation First Responders Handbook. Basically, it's a reference architecture based on OGC standards, how to interconnect with each other. So in my opinion, it is going to happen. And in this case, for example, like cloud, right? again, it takes a while, but suddenly it becomes everywhere, right? So it will be, in my opinion, it will be like this. Suddenly, bam, it becomes everywhere. And AI is pushing this. So again, I think what's missing, the question is not, the question maybe the when, but it's not, it's going to happen or not. I think the more important question is, what's the dynamic shift? So what's going to happen? And then somebody figure it out and just wipe everybody out. It's I know it's a scary thought, but think about it on my Amazon example, right? If their AI becomes so good, they wipe everybody out. And as you can see, it's happening. Of course, other people are trying to do something else, right? To combat that. So that's actually, dynamic shift is something I think encourage you to, everybody to think about.